Hello everybody, welcome back. So here's going to be a little update. So it's been about, let's say, roughly 2 months since I really started taking working in Blender and doing this game dev log. And yesterday I was feeling a bit unmotivated. Today I woke up and I was like, what am I doing all this for? But you know, there's some other stuff going on in my head, but I needed something to sort of give me that boost to feel like progress is being made and all this effort will be fruitful in the end. So I started perusing some of the quote-unquote old files, old from about 2 months ago, and let's check some things out. So this is where this character is now. So I pretty much have everything sculpted. I have the hair, I have the eyebrows, I am experimenting with these eyelash things. So I've been analyzing a lot of popular games on how they implement these things, and this seems to be a very typical way. I still need to work on making this look a little rounder, kind of like dips in right there. Small stuff, but I got the hair done. Hair's on fleek. I experimented with the ear, so I kind of went, my focus is sort of realistic stylized, if that makes any sense. So I don't want it to be super hyper realistic. Obviously has to be anatomically correct and stuff, but I still want it to be stylized. So I kind of dig the way this ear came out. Now I kind of have to come up with my own, I guess you could call it, blueprint for how the models are going to look in the game. So far I'm still calling the project the TFZ, and it stands for something. I don't want to say the name yet because I'm not 100% on the name, but I'm digging the outfit. Now I was thinking of adding something to the thigh, maybe a gun holster or a knife holster, or maybe some armor or something, but I don't want to go too wild because I'm still learning, and I'm still, I'll be honest, struggling with a lot of these things, and I'm learning as I'm going. I'm getting more confident working in Blender, but I'm kind of feeling like I'm up against some heavy work ahead. And I keep running into small little things, like for example, something happened with the shoelaces. Everything was perfectly aligned, and I think I resized the shoe, and I must have not had the shoelaces as part of the selection, and when I resized it, the shoelaces were kind of like not there, and then I kind of had to realign the shoelaces. So if you look over here on the right in the outliner, I started putting together a high poly and a low poly. Now from what I've been gathering, so far I've been baking in Blender, but I recently subscribed for the Substance Painter package with Steam, which includes the Substance Designer, Substance Modeler, which I'm not really sure what that's for. It's probably something similar to Blender, but I've invested so much time in Blender and I'm so accustomed to it now, I don't think I want to start learning a new program. But I have a low poly version going, and so far the low poly only has the boot. Gave him the boot. And I'm kind of having a hard time with shoelaces. I can't decide if I want the shoelaces to cut straight down into the boot or have this kind of levitating shoelace. So far this is okay. I had a high poly version that didn't seem to work. I need to work on these individual meshes. Now what's troubling me in my head is the logic of how am I going to do the mesh deformations once I start rigging, because I have a feeling once I start rigging, all these individual pieces are going to start flying around in space, and they're not going to like bend the way a solid mesh would. So I'm not sure if I need to start merging this into one solid mesh, if I can keep this as separate meshes and do something later. I did find a video online where this guy made like sort of a cage around it, and the individual meshes were parented as a deformed parent to the outside cage, and that cage would control the the vertexes and the vertices of the individual meshes, but I have to experiment with that. But I'm feeling pretty confident in how this is coming along. I have a little sock going, and I'm thinking I'm gonna texture this in Substance Painter. I'm not gonna do what I did on the collar and the sleeves as much as I want to. There is a little bit of a bad contrast between the waist, the neck, collar, the arm sleeves, and the wrist sleeves. I might work on that a little bit. Other things I might do different later is maybe try to use more solid meshes than so many pieces. Again, I'm still learning a lot. But back to what I was talking about in terms of motivation. Let's open up one of the older sculpts. So let's check this out. Let me go to the backup here. Let's go to files. Alright, so here's Lizardo, what I'm calling Lizardo. This is Lizardo. This looks like right here. It's gonna open. Hopefully it'll open a new file. Oh, it's opening a new file. Okay, so hold on. Let me open it in this window. File open. Don't save. I don't want to modify anything there. So let's go up to Lizardo. And this was the character before this one. So let's find the most recent one. February 23rd. This looks like it would be the last one. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so this was the final of all the work with that. And I think what I did here was the shoes were one mesh. The body was another mesh. The arms from the elbow down was another mesh. The hoodie was another mesh. And the head was another mesh. Yeah, I do remember correctly. This was worked out pretty good. I did have some issues with the baking. It could be because the legs and the sweater were one mesh. Because if you look right here in between, it looks like the normal map is doing some weird inverted stuff. Again, I didn't really want to spend way too much time on the same character. But I like the way the texturing came out. I learned a lot there. But let's see a little bit older of a mesh. So this was Blank Bot. Now this one was straight, no sculpting. This was just box modeling with the subdiv, with the sub-D modifier. And this came out pretty cool. I think for what the idea was, I think I got it. But again, this was like very early on. But let's see some of the original sculpts. So let's go to the sculpt folder I have. Okay, this is... Let's see this. Already, I can kind of be like, oh my god, what was I had no idea what I was doing. But that's fine. That's what the process is, you know. Let's just check one more. I think this is where I started getting a little bit more of the handle on it. And what's cool about this one, it kind of looks like a ZBrush kind of sculpt in a way. I think the red matte cap gives it that effect. I did get a good handle on some of the workflow here. But let's go back to this most recent character. Now there's a few names I've been kind of thinking about. Right now I've been kind of calling her Kiara. I also kind of had the name, I think it was Feronia. I don't know. Sometimes I just say words and see what sticks. But I'm kind of excited to finish this, but at the same time I'm feeling a bit intimidated by getting into Substance Painter and Substance Designer. So what the next steps are going to be for this character is going to finalize making the low poly meshes, which is going to be a bit time consuming. I might not record all of that. I might record just doing the face and maybe like the legs low poly and the hands, because that seems like that would be the most complicated to attack. But yeah, so this is where she's at right now, and I'm really digging the character, and I can't wait to finish this and bring it into Unreal and start working on using this character as the default character. And the concept of the game I have in my mind is sort of like a FPS, but I want to include like a raiding option where like you can meet up with like X number of people and like go through a cave, kind of like WoW back in the day, and just like take down some monster and just have fun. Another one is going to be sort of like a kind of hangout where you can just go and like just be in a lobby and just chat with people or chat with friends, make a custom room, custom lobby of your own. And a third is going to be sort of like a battle royale, but not like a lot of people. And I kind of want to be it where you stay in the game for a while. I'm not a fan of like waiting 10 minutes for a lobby to load, waiting 3 minutes in a lobby, playing for like 2 seconds and having to start over again, and like 20 minutes go by and you didn't even get a game in. I'm not going to say no names because I like the game, but I want something where like you just get in, load, join some people, and just start playing. Again, I don't know anything about what I'm doing here. I'm learning as I'm going. But let's continue on. Let's get this character finished. Let's get her low polyed. Let's get her textured in Substance Painter, and then rigged, and then set into Unreal. So I'm going to continue again with some character sculpting modeling. And with that, I'm going to say have a great day. Thanks for following. Thanks for sticking around. And I hope this has been entertaining and you're learning along with me. So here goes.